Team Deathmatch.
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? This is Rich over ViewTech USA, and I would love to dive naked into a giant pool of whipped cream. If I sound exhausted, I am exhausted. I have to get used to working the whole 9 to 5 shift. I'm used to working on projects like YouTube at night, and I'm used to working my other 2 jobs at night as well. So it's like, Twilight Zone. I haven't worked anything close to a 9 to 5 since, God, 2009? Yeah, IBM, the last job. And that wasn't even 9 to 5. That was actually 6 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. So actually, that's a little worse than this, I guess, but that was the last time I've been on, like, a solid schedule, let's say, so it's kicking my ass, but I'm enjoying it, though, because it's nice to know you're going to get home at 5. It's nice to know that you have weekends off. It's nice to know that I can work on stuff like this at night and, you know, not have to call someplace every day to see if I'm working, because that's what one of my part-time jobs required, that I called them every day at 3 o'clock to see if I was working, and it kind of sucked because you couldn't plan your day. So say you called at 3 and found out you weren't working. Okay, great, you're not working, but what can you do? You know, you can't socialize, you can't, you know, make appointments, you can't, you know, run errands because, well, I guess you could, but it would be tougher because you can't base your day around your work because you don't know if you're working or not. The beauty of it is, though, working at this new job is that 9 o'clock isn't that early. So what I do is I leave work, go to the gym, come home, eat dinner, come upstairs and work on a project, and I could still go to bed at like midnight and still get 7 to 8 hours of sleep. So it's pretty cool. Reason why, too, I could get so much sleep is that the job is very close to me. It's like 7 minutes away, 10 at the most. So it's not like I have a huge commute to go to. I have to wake up, roll out of bed, jump in the shower, and drive 7 minutes away to work. It's beautiful, and it saves a ton on gas, too. Now, actually, speaking of my job, I'm going to bring up a very controversial topic because it's something I wanted to talk about for a long time, but I felt awkward talking about it because when I was unemployed or underemployed, I felt like I would be considered a whiner. People would say I was crying because I didn't have a job. People would say, you know, I was just being ungrateful and being lazy and all that. And it had nothing to do with that. And I want to talk about people being unemployed for a long term, because that was me. There are a lot of people that have been employed for a very long time in this country at the same job who look at people who were laid off as lazy, unqualified, uneducated, and they don't look at the bigger picture. Oh, God, I was called when I got laid off from IBM, and the next, 6 months passed by, a year passed by, a year and a half passed by, 2 years passed by. Hell, it's almost been 3 years since I had full-time work. A lot of people go on the let's judge him train or let's judge her train. Let me explain something to you about how bad the market is. Back when I got laid off in 2009, here I'm thinking, all right, it's just going to take a couple months. Like I said in my other video, I would look at jobs during the day. There goes my phone. Look at jobs during the day. And at night, play Halo or whatever. And I would get job interviews. I would get phone calls. Go on the interviews, never get a call back, no response, anything. And I would follow up with them. I would call and be like, hey, we talked on the phone. We had an interview last week. No response. So that was in my field. So I was picky in the beginning because, well, I thought I had the qualifications I kind of can be. I could look for equivalent work or maybe even better. So 6 months went by, nothing. Year goes by, nothing. Then I'm like, okay, I got to stop being, I kind of eased up before the year, but I'm like, all right, I got to start looking at other jobs. Like maybe I could find something for like $10 an hour or whatever. So I start applying to warehouses. I start applying to food stores. I applied to coffee shops. Nothing. Literally nothing. My father, a man who used to make 6 figures a year, he's employed now too, started up 4 companies, okay? Has been working consistently since 16 years old. All right, he's an engineer. He's an electronics engineer. He did many big things for people in Wall Street in terms of designing their technology. It's outdated now, but they were called turrets. And he did a lot of big things. He actually helped the World Trade Center after the first attack get up and running again. He actually had a lot of personal friends at Cantor Fitzgerald, excuse me. He got laid off in 2007. It took him till 2011 to find a job. And he has more qualifications than anybody I know. And he was on a billion interviews as well. I know people that went back to school when they got laid off. I know people that went back for nursing. I know people that went back for whatever, thinking that, oh, if I go back to school and get an education in a different field, I'll come out and find a job, no problem. Wrong. A lot of them regretted going back to school because they couldn't find a job in the field they went back to school for. A good amount of them did now, I will say that, but it took them like a year and a half, 2 years, some of them, to get a job, even after going back to school. The bottom line is that the economy is terrible. And I think a lot of people who have had jobs for 10 years, 15 years, who have been lucky enough, who have been blessed enough not to get laid off, kind of like, if I'm working, why can't you find a job? And I'm not saying there isn't lazy people out there who, who are taking advantage of unemployment, who are taking advantage of, the system in general, and who are just lazy and, just rather sit in their room playing video games all day. But it's a much different animal out there now than it was even 6 years ago, 5 years ago. Finding a job 5 years ago was much easier than finding a job now. And I'm not saying that people don't deserve to have fingers pointed at them, but you have to be understanding that it is a much tougher economy out there, and it's much tougher to find a job. And for every position out there, there's literally hundreds of people applying to it. All you can do is keep applying, keep going in interviews, and hope for the best. Not everyone's being lazy. This is Rich Review Tech USA. Have a good one.
You alright?
Yeah, I'm cool.